Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into the weekly business news for June 22nd, 2026. We've got a lot of absolutely critical updates to get through today. We're talking immediate tax compliance shifts happening right now, massive macroeconomic pressures squeezing our physical economy, and we'll cap it off by looking at how future tech trends are actively reshaping the digital frontier. So if you want to understand the exact forces acting on your business today, you are definitely in the right place.
Okay, let's look at the agenda. First up, we're tackling tax rules and an HMRC crackdown. Then we'll examine energy costs hitting manufacturers. And finally, workplace robotics and AI adoption. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. Tax rules and an HMRC crackdown, specifically focusing on immediate compliance risks.
Okay, so the revised schedule for mandatory payrolling of benefits in kind is officially taking shape. Initially, HMRC was going to drop this entire thing on everyone all at once in April 2027. But, well, after some pretty heavy industry pushback, they're now rolling it out in two distinct phases. Phase 1 kicks off in April 2027, and that's going to cover things like company cars, van fuel, and employer-provided medical benefits. Then, Phase 2 follows exactly a year later in April 2028, pulling in most other benefits in kind. Actually, just a quick note here. Beneficial loans and living accommodation will remain voluntary for now. We're expecting further guidance on all of this by July of this year, but honestly, businesses really need to start preparing for this shift right now.
In practice, what this actually means is we're kissing the old system of submitting those yearly P11D forms goodbye. Instead, employers have got to process these taxable values through their payroll in real time. So, income tax and Class 1A national insurance contributions are going to be applied directly through the payroll system. It's a massive modernization effort, obviously designed to collect taxes faster and cut down on that frantic end-of-year administrative scramble. But, the administrative side isn't the only place the government is making sweeping changes.
30,000. Yeah, that's a massive number. That is the planned number of high street interventions HMRC is going to be making in the coming year. To actually pull this off, a newly recruited 350-strong team of criminal investigators, which they actually announced back in the autumn budget of 2025, well, they are now officially on the ground and highly active.
And let me tell you, the tone of this whole initiative is incredibly aggressive. Dan Tomlinson, the Exchequer Secretary to the Treasury, really did not mince words here. He said, "Owners of dodgy shops that are evading tax, we are coming for you." He went on to argue that way too many high streets have been blighted by illegal activity that just undercuts honest businesses. This isn't a slap on the wrist. It's a sustained nationwide effort using literally every power they have to dismantle criminal networks operating behind retail storefronts.
So, who exactly are they hunting down? The primary targets are cash-intensive businesses, operations tied to money laundering, companies breaching minimum wage rules, and shops selling illicit goods like unregulated vapes and tobacco. They're also cracking down hard on rogue directors. This is a practice known as phenoxism, where someone repeatedly shuts down a business just to reopen it elsewhere to dodge debts, along with anyone using electronic tools to manipulate till records. To put this into perspective, just last week, unannounced raids hit 6 souvenir shops right in central London. It was a massive joint operation with HMRC, immigration enforcement, trading standards, and the Met Police. The result? 3 immigration arrests, ongoing tax inquiries, and over 5,400 pounds in seized goods. The warning is, for sure, very clear.
All right, moving from high street compliance, let's transition to Section 2, energy cost hitting manufacturers, the state of our physical economy.
This next stat is pretty wild. According to the manufacturers lobby group Make UK, 1 in 4 British manufacturers has either already moved production abroad or is seriously considering packing up and doing so. Plus, the survey found that another 1 in 10 companies are outsourcing more production, specifically to regions like Southeast Asia, with another 16% actively considering taking that exact same route. Think about that for a second. A year ago, everyone was talking about onshoring. Today, it's a literal flight from the UK.
Why the mass exodus? Well, it just comes down to basic math. Make UK estimates that the average British manufacturer pays around 27 pence per kilowatt hour for electricity. Compare that to 16 pence across other developed nations, and a staggering low of just 6 pence over in the United States. Stephen Phipson, the CEO of Make UK, bluntly stated that the UK is simply uncompetitive. And remember, it's not just the base rate we're talking about. UK manufacturers are also weighed down by additional levies, with a climate charge being the most expensive, making them even less competitive on the global stage.
Now, the government has recognized this is a serious issue, but there is a major catch when it comes to the timeline. They did introduce the British Industry Supercharger policy, which gives about 450 highly energy-intensive businesses relief from 4 of those levies. But for the broader manufacturing base, the British Industrial Competitiveness Scheme, or BICS, won't provide its 3-levy relief to an estimated 10,000 companies until 2027. Given this current massive exodus of manufacturing, Make UK is understandably demanding that BICS be rolled out immediately to all manufacturers. They simply can't wait.
Which brings us to Section 3, Workplace Robotics and AI Adoption, the Digital Frontier.
With these incredibly high physical costs, how are businesses trying to future-proof themselves? Well, first up, robotics. Have you heard of cobots? These are collaborative robots explicitly designed to safely work right alongside human workers. Interestingly, the barrier to adopting these hasn't actually been health and safety law itself, it's the fear of non-compliance. Businesses are literally paralyzed by regulatory uncertainty. To fix this, the Health and Safety Executive is teaming up with Automate UK and the Manufacturing Technology Center. Launching this summer, they're issuing clear, first-of-its-kind guidance to give the industry the regulatory clarity and confidence they actually need to integrate cobots safely. It's a game-changer for physical automation. But what about digital automation?
20%. Honestly, I found this number pretty shocking. A new report reveals that only 1 in 5 small businesses use artificial intelligence regularly. And of that 20%, the pool is heavily dominated by telecom and tech companies. Even more surprising, a mere 6% of micro and small businesses have actually embedded AI into their daily work. Yet strangely enough, 57% of these exact same businesses describe themselves as being highly or moderately digital. I guess having a company group chat feels a lot like living in the future, right? But clearly, there is a massive gap between feeling digital and actually utilizing next-generation tools.
Let's break this down further, because when you look across different sectors, a really stark digital divide emerges. Information and communication businesses naturally lead the pack with a 74% adoption rate. But then you look at construction sitting at just 4%, and agriculture at an abysmal 1%. Company size plays a huge role in this puzzle too. The report warns that the absolute smallest businesses risk being left in the dust. 68% of larger SMEs, so those with 50 to 249 employees, use AI, compared to only 34% of one-person businesses.
So what's actually holding everyone back? Well, cost is the primary culprit, with 53% citing it as their main issue. That's followed by a lack of skills at 46%, privacy and data concerns at 38%, and 37% who simply say they lack the time to implement it. There's also a very distinct geographic divide happening here in the UK. While London sees a 30% AI adoption rate among SMEs, the northeast of England sits at just 10%. Astonishingly, the report found that 22% of SMEs in the northeast are digitally excluded altogether. They are operating almost entirely offline.
Which brings us to our final slide and the ultimate question for us today. We've seen that the landscape is shifting dramatically under our feet. We've got Phase 1 of mandatory payrolling hitting in 2027, we have that absolutely critical BICS energy relief delayed until 2027, and meanwhile, the data clearly shows that early AI adopters are already beginning to pull ahead of their competitors. The operational rules, the physical costs, and the digital tools are all changing fast. So I'll leave you with this. Is your business ready for the economy of 2027? Take some time to think about how these trends intersect with your own operations. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep learning.